Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain's Brunswick property is located in the Rideout Shear Zone in Ontario, with grab samples running as high as 32 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program to test numerous targets located by recent groundwork is planned for early 2018. Please visit our website at rmroyalty.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sean Brodrick, Senior Editor at WeissRatings.com. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Thanks very much for having me on. I was just up at the Metals Investor Forum up in Vancouver, which was your neck of the woods, but I'm sorry we didn't have time to really connect.
You were too busy.
Oh, man, was I busy. Along with my presentation, I was just talking to all these small companies. There's some real positivity in the whole industry right now. People can really feel the ground under their feet, and so there's a lot of optimism, I believe.
What did you find most interesting at that conference?
The most interesting thing I had at that conference was a talk with the head of a graphite company when he gave me his view on lithium and graphite and supply out of China and all that stuff, and which was really information I hadn't had before. Apparently, China used to feed lots of graphite into the world market, but they're using it all for the lithium-ion batteries they have, so it's really removing a lot of supply from the market. So maybe we haven't looked at graphite companies closely enough. I mean, my subscribers own one, but now I think maybe I should own more. So that's good. Also, just some gold projects, which I hadn't really known about before, but it's a great conference for that, because these are companies that are being highlighted by the people that actually write about them. So just found out some projects that I didn't really know that much about that I think are really interesting.
What's happening in the lithium space?
Well, in the past couple weeks, we have seen the price of lithium stocks just get hammered. Not the price of lithium itself, which is stronger than ever, but the price of lithium stocks, and that's because of two deals. One is Orocobre, which is working down in the lithium triangle on the Argentinian side of it, made a deal with Toyota to sell Toyota about 15% of the company, and Toyota is going to give them the money to double their production eventually. That's a project that only recently got into production. They had some problems starting up. They had to work out some problems, that kind of thing. And so, obviously, or I should say, it looks to me like probably Toyota's trying to secure future lithium supply for its own electronic vehicles and like that kind of thing. So this is just one of the steps they'll take. So there's that. That's a smaller project, but a rich project. But then SQM, which is Societe Quimérica, I forget the rest of it. Anyway, it's the big Chilean lithium company. Symbol is SQM. And they have been fighting with the Chilean government for a long time about taxes and production. And so they finally worked out a tax deal, which is basically SQM pays more taxes. But as a result, they'll need to double their production. Now, this has just happened in the past week and a half, actually. And this is what has tanked the lithium stocks. However, I mean, if you step back from the headlines, which is there will be more supply, therefore everyone's selling their lithium stocks, and look at how long it'll actually take them to ramp up those projects. The next few years, we're still going to have a squeeze. That's why the price of lithium isn't going lower, because the next few years are still going to be tight, and a lot of things can happen in a few years. We don't know what can happen. Maybe we'll have more supply, maybe there'll be some problems with some projects, because some of the planned supply is from small projects that actually haven't gone into production yet. And anything can happen to those projects. So I think lithium still looks good. Cobalt looks even stronger than ever, and the price of cobalt is heading higher again. I mean, lithium is strong, cobalt is stronger. And so the supply-demand squeeze in cobalt over the next couple of years will be very, very tight, metal scream tight. So watch for that as well. So I remain bullish on the energy metals, but I do think there are plenty of other opportunities out there.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after the break.
I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead, zinc, silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineered gold mine in the Atlan District of Northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're talking with Sean Brodrick. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies took a huge hit a week ago. What's happening there?
Well, they're still under pressure. However, people need to stop focusing on the cryptocurrencies, I think, and look at the underlying blockchain, which is being brought up as a solution to more and more things. For example, in the gold market, one problem they have is actually figuring out where particular mine gold goes. They're saying using blockchain, they can actually figure that out. It'll give them a much better grasp on the market. And so I think that there's still opportunity in many blockchain companies. That said, I've done plenty of research here. There are so many rascals in the blockchain industry, it's not funny. Companies that have just renamed themselves something blockchain and they really have nothing there, or else they're eventually going to start mining and stuff like that. So, you have to be careful, but I think that that is something that people need to be aware of and need to be looking carefully for places to invest in this industry. That's what I'm doing with my subscribers. I think that if you know what you're doing and you don't chase things, you can actually do quite well. There are some opportunities out there, but you just have to be careful. That's all. And let me just pivot off of that to gold. Gold should be going lower because the U.S. government worked out a deal on its budget, and so people were expecting, we'll see gold go lower and the U.S. dollar go higher off of that. But that's not actually what's happening. We are seeing the U.S. dollar index. I actually prefer the U.S. dollar Japanese yen cross, but I won't get into that because it's too technical right now. But the U.S. dollar index has broken down below 90 again, and really showing some weakness because the general belief is that the U.S. government wasn't out of commission to slow down global growth. Therefore, global growth is going to continue, and there are other central banks in the world that are on a faster tightening schedule than the U.S. central bank is. Therefore, they'll continue to tighten that, and in comparison, because they'll be tightening faster, their currencies look better than the U.S. dollar. Also, the U.S. with its budget, it's just longer term, not very healthy for the U.S. dollar. So you put those things together, those are actually quite good for gold.
I don't know if NAFTA is a big factor for the U.S. and Canada. They're really scared that these NAFTA talks are not going to work out.
Yeah, that's because the White House does things which are not really rational. It just turns out that President Trump takes on the ideas of the last person he talked to, and there are some bad actors around him. So if he talks to someone who has some wackadoodle ideas about NAFTA, things could go south in a hurry. I hope things work out. You would think Congress would restrain him from doing anything too stupid, but that doesn't mean that it necessarily will happen. So I think NAFTA is a concern. That is something we should worry about. And our whole economies got used to having NAFTA in place. If NAFTA isn't there anymore, there is really going to be some adjustments that I'm not sure people are really ready for. I don't think consumers are really ready to pay much higher prices for shoes and cars and stuff like that. So we'll just have to see how that goes.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Keep informed. Receive our weekly recap of thought-provoking articles, podcasts, and radio delivered to your inbox for free. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage, HowStreet.com. The price of oil, amazingly strong for this time of year, keeps climbing up. Is there any reason to believe that this oil trend is going to change anytime soon?
Well, here's the thing. For a long time, oil seemed to get disconnected from the geopolitical events that used to drive it. And the reason is because they built a lot more oil storage. That was a cushion, you see. So it had this nice cushion, and so geopolitical events would happen and the price of oil would move around. And so people were saying, hey, you know what? That market's calmed down. That's good. But slowly, over time, that oil in storage has just been sucked away down the giant flavor straw that connects it to all the refineries. And so we are seeing lower inventories around the world, and that's really the pressure on crude oil. That and the fact that Russia and Saudi Arabia say they may extend their cuts for longer. And so you put those things together, you know, and also not much new drilling in the U.S. Onshore oil fields. And, yeah, the price of oil is going higher. Now, some people are throwing out numbers like, say, $80 a barrel. I even heard $100 a barrel. Come on. That's probably not going to happen. I mean, if it does, it'll just be a spike. But certainly $65, $70, those are in play now. That's the stuff we can see for the U.S. oil benchmark price. And Brent is already at $70. So that could go higher. Definitely that could hit 80. I mean, we are looking at this upward pressure, and what's driving it is the global economic recovery, which is happening all at the same time around the world. We're seeing more rapid growth in China. We're seeing more rapid growth across Asia. We're seeing improving growth in Europe. Growth in the U.S., miles driven, has just been really going up. So you look at those things, there is more demand for oil. And so, yeah, I mean, I am bullish on oil. I've been adding positions that I think will actually make the most of that. And I think that's a good space to be in right now.
Well, also, too, across North America, the demand is for pickup trucks and SUVs, and even though they've become a lot more fuel efficient, they still do use more gasoline than your little Honda Civic would.
Yes, well, as a former owner of a Honda Civic, I can tell you there's nothing wrong with that car. I loved having that little runabout. Now, you know, I have to move it to something bigger. But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We are seeing miles driven and the amount of fuel used, at least in the U.S., is really going up as people head off around the highways. And also it's, you know, the increasing, the increasing GDP growth. I mean, really it's looking stronger and stronger. Now, you can credit whoever you want on this. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that there is better, stronger growth. So if you're in commodities, this is bullish stuff, right? And then there's China. And I hate to keep coming back to this, but you have to keep this in mind. For a long time, we all know that the Chinese were lying about their economic growth. But more recently, they haven't had to lie. They're actually having good, strong growth. And like, we can see the end results that show that, yeah, things are picking up over there. And so if there's real economic growth in China, that is supportive of all kinds of commodities around the world. So, yeah, definitely keep your eye on that stuff, too.
Well, copper had an 8-cent drop today, but you take a look at where copper was a year ago and where it is now, well over $3 a pound. It seems that copper's a good indicator that you're building things, both things on the ground that need wiring, and also electric cars are going to start using a lot more copper.
Right. Well, The price of copper is falling because the price of iron ore is falling, and the price of iron ore is falling because the Chinese are playing head games with the market. Basically, that's it. I mean, it is a pullback. If you feel ambitious, you can buy that pullback. What I might look at is those companies that are leveraged to the price of copper that are getting flattened now, and might pick them up for the next upturn, which is going to come. So yeah, as long as we have global growth, and we're having that now, the price of copper, is going to zigzag its way higher. Just right now, it's zagging lower. That's all.
And talking about people cleaning up in the markets, Proctor Gamble, the people who make all those soaps and products, they're upping their yearly forecast, and they're expecting people, I guess, to be cleaner and brighter.
Yeah, we are seeing earnings estimate rise all over the place, if not one way, another. I mean, if you look at Bank of America, they're now going to start charging people who have less than $1,500 in the bank something like $12 a month to have an account there. And I'm thinking, boy, if that isn't the best ad for local credit unions that I ever saw, why would anyone want to stay at Bank of America if that's what they're going to do to people? But we are seeing profit estimates, earning estimates go up across the board, really. Maybe not in some things, but in most industries we are seeing profits go higher. Not in chemicals, for example, because they're being pressured by the rising price of natural gas and stuff like that. But for most industries, things are actually looking more bullish. Again, synchronized global economic growth. It's a growth story, and it's bullish for all sorts of stuff.
Canada and the 10 remaining nations in the TransPacific Partnership plan to sign a formal agreement in March. The U.S. is not part of that. Is that a big mistake on Donald Trump's part?
Well, yeah, but it was also a big mistake on Obama's part. They left the negotiations to the greediest companies, and the original Trans-Pacific Partnership that landed on our desk was not a good deal, but they needed to really work on it to make it work for the average people and not just the big fat corporations. That's what they should have done. So it's just been kind of a combination of things. I mean, it was not a good deal then. It should have been improved a lot. Completely letting it go just hands a lot of power and opportunity to China. They shouldn't do that. But what they should do is work hard to fix it. But they aren't going to work hard to fix it, so I'm not going to cry over that spilled milk.
Are we going to see a big turmoil in the marijuana space before it becomes legal in Canada? Is there danger of oversupply, undersupply, or do we know?
Oh, well, I've heard predictions on both sides. So, we'll just have to see. I have seen very bullish action in select marijuana stocks that I follow. I was buying for my personal portfolio today. So I think things are going higher. And I am tending toward buying Canadian marijuana stocks because we still don't know what Attorney General Jeff Sessions will do in the United States. That said, the FBI's just called him for some kind of testimony related to the whole election shenanigans and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe he'll be there, maybe he won't. I think that he's hanging on to that job with a death grip because he doesn't want to go back to the southern state where he's from. He likes hanging out in Washington, D.C. He's a creature of Washington. So, but eventually, things will improve for the U.S. marijuana companies. But until they do, it's an opportunity for Canadian marijuana stocks, right? I mean, because they don't have competition from the U.S. marijuana companies. And I don't mean just like things like selling marijuana. I mean building all the business deals that you do as you grow and become an international company. The Canadian companies can do that. The U.S. companies can't. They can't operate outside of their state borders. So this is a tremendous advantage for companies up in Canada, and I think they should be making the most of it. There's plenty of opportunities there, and they'll be doing it. In fact, we just saw Aurora, which is that's one of my recommendations. So I just want to put that little caveat on there. But it's now going to be supplying marijuana to Italy, and it already supplies marijuana to like other countries and stuff like that. So this is an example of Canadian companies, since they don't have that fierce competition from U.S. companies, they really have a chance to step out and grow and do all sorts of things. So I think there's still plenty of upside there. Will there be an oversupply when legalization rolls around? Who knows? But the longer-term picture, the bigger picture looks pretty good.
And perhaps, too, when they have the initial rollout, there will be the curiosity factor from people who wonder if the officially supplied marijuana is as good as the renowned BC bud that's grown underground right now.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm pretty sure that Canada won't over-regulate. What I'm really worried about is places like California, where they just love regulation. And so, if they make it too difficult for people to operate profitable businesses, and if they make it too difficult for people to use, then the underground market will thrive. And that's the real danger, is that a bunch of bureaucrats are going to be so enamored of themselves and all the rules they can make with their bright, shiny pens that they will ruin the market. I don't think that's as much of a risk in Canada, though I do know there are certain provincial heads that don't want marijuana in their provinces, so there is that. But we'll just have to see how that plays out as well.
Ontario, prime example of that. They will not have enough outlets to meet the demand. I think they're starting off with like 20 outlets.
Of Ontario,
yeah.
20, really? That's insane. Now, see, all the crooks across Canada stand up and applaud that. They say thank you, because that keeps them in business. You have to get out of the way of capitalism and allow them to sell the stuff freely and, of course, pay their taxes and stuff, but not tie their hands up in red tape and not restrict trade, which is what you're talking about right there. They should not do that. That is not the recipe for a healthy market.
You overprice it, people will stay underground, and that big windfall you were expecting tax-wise won't happen.
Exactly. That is another problem. That's probably one thing that's going to happen in California. I'm really worried about that state, that they are going to kill the golden goose and just keep it illegal. And then all the drug cartels in Mexico will applaud that. They want that to happen. So, and of course, all the big drug makers, they don't want pot around. They want people to stay hopped up on their happy pills, which are, of course, deadly and stuff like that. There's all sorts of shenanigans on there, but they need to get out of the market's way. They need to get out of people's way. Let capitalism thrive. No one has ever died from marijuana overdose. For God's sakes, it's obviously going to be something that's going to improve some people's lives, people who actually need it for, things like pain relief. It's also going to improve the lives of people who are forced into doing something illegal simply because they want to have a little fun, and it'll provide tax money for all sorts of governments, as long as they don't get too greedy. So we'll just have to see how that goes, but I'm more hopeful about Canada than I am about California.
Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
And can you remind us of some of the other websites you have dealing with creating super wealth?
Super wealth.
Yeah.
Sign me up. But really, if you go to weissratings.com, you can find my stuff. That's a good place. And if you go to edelsoninstitute.com, I just had a free e-zine start called Wealth Wave. The first issue went out today. It was actually supposed to go out over the weekend, but trying to get anything out the door is a little tough. Anyway, that'll come out 3 times a week, so check that out. That is edelsoninstitute.com and also weissratings.com. Those 2 places, that's where you'll find me, and you can always find me on Twitter, right? Because you know that I tweet like a, workaholic or something. So at Sean Brodrick, follow me on Twitter, and you'll find links to all sorts of stuff.
Sean, thanks again.
Thank you.
My guest has been Sean Brodrick, senior editor at weissratings.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at HowStreet. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Questions for the show, including our guests like Sean, can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at talkdigitalnetwork.com. HowStreet.com Radio is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.